These are senior-laden teams, obviously, with not a lot of pro potential out there.
Villanova doesn't have a real NBA prospect on their squad.
The Knicks are led by 3 starters from that Villanova team, and their offensive efficiency is in the 98th percentile historically, which is pretty good for non-NBA prospects.
Pretty good.
Their offensive superstar, Jalen Brunson, is cut from the Allen Iverson cloth of Mighty Mites, making tough shots while wrecking people with his footwork and change of direction. We did an entire deep dive on him playing off 2 feet last year, and he credits his college coach for that development.
But I think at Villanova, it was like...
Polished it?
Polished it, because everyone did it. It was something we did every single day. I kid you not. That's how we started practice. That's how we ended practice. Like that, we started just doing our footwork stuff. And so Coach Wright was like, I want you guys to have this in your repertoire, knowing that you guys can play the other way, but you will always have this style of basketball.
This Knicks offense is built around Brunson, who leads the league in time of possession, ball handling, footwork combos, and clutch scoring rate. He's averaging a cool 42 points per 75 clutch possessions on 62% true shooting, and he's one of the most fearless players we've seen in years, and certainly one of the craftiest. And his 2 college teammates play an integral role as well, with their secondary playmaking and movement, and at times this whole Knicks offense feels like an extension of those Nova teams, with Bridges' perpetual motion and Josh Hart leading the offensive rebounding brigade and making connective passes.
Villanova doesn't have a real NBA prospect.
The college teammates screen for each other. That forces a switch for Brunson to attack, and watch McHale relocate into empty space for a beautiful shot on the move. This time, it's the exact same play. Instead of staying behind the line, Bridges cuts into open space. The pass never comes, so he just keeps going to the corner, then slams on the brakes to attack Victor Wembanyama on the drive. So, McHale's perpetual re-spacing and cutting into defensive cracks are a key element to this offense, and their movement and interactions are reminiscent of what they did together back at Villanova. The major difference now, besides 8 years of evolution, is that they have one of the best shooting bigs ever. So if teams help on their cuts and off-ball movement, Towns can punish them as a finisher from behind the three-point arc, which works the other way as well. Bridges screens to get Cat a 3 here. 2 Atlanta defenders linger because of his shooting, which leaves McHale. Hart makes a great extra pass, then 1 more from Bridges, and Precious Achiuwa is in nice and deep. Now, you might assume, hey, the Brunson-Cat 2-man game is cooking people like an East Coast Jokic and Murray, but that's not really what drives this offense. Heck, Cat's only made 10 pick-and-pop threes all season, and he'll often drive in these spots or just space inside the arc. Here's a 2-man game on the side of the floor. Note Towns lingering inside the line because he's looking for something better at the basket. And this one isn't even a pick and roll, it's a Brunson post-up. Cat creeps to the top of the key, then he baits the Spurs defense to dime up Hart for 2. And I love how funky yet progressive this spacing is, with a shooter circling out to the weak side, the center trying to pull out the shot blocker, and 2 forwards hunting layups on either block. Instead of popping or rolling, Towns likes to post up switches. The Rockets' weak side shifts toward the ball. That creates a minor opening for Bridges to attack on the swing. Brunson cuts behind his man and out of the lane. Then it's Hart's turn, and that is vintage Nova Knicks. So when you watch this team, you see a ton of bodies in and out of the paint. And you might think it's congestion, but it's more like layup hunting. And that's how a team with a mid-range king and a great stretch big ends up 3rd in the league in shots made at the rim. And at the same time, they're just 26th in three-pointers attempted. I gotta go see this in person. You can't leave the computer, you'll miss the Knicks. Yeah, I'm gonna see Jalen Brunson cook live. Well, how are you gonna do that? Well, I'm gonna do it with...
Say the line, Bart!
SeatGeek. Yeah! Is this a sponsor thing? Wait, you've never used SeatGeek? No, don't know. They're literally like the biggest ticket app. Well, why? Why? What do they have? They have everything. Concerts, festivals, NBA, NHL, MLB. Tickets are rated on a scale from 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal, color-coded by seat quality, and it's backed by their buyer guaranteed, so no funny business. Well, why should the people watching use it? Because they get 10% off if they use our code THINKING10 on their next set of tickets. We have the link in the description with the code automatically added to use later. And when they use that code, it helps the channel. Look at how funky this one is. Again, Hart's on the block, while the big is on the perimeter. Then one weak side shooter sets a sneaky screen for the other. And even though McHale missed that one, the Knicks use this concept a ton. This time Hart takes the handoff. OG Anunoby moves inside the line to screen for McHale. The defense overplays, so he slips through the cracks for a layup this time. Here's some 1980s offense with a twist. Brunson running up from the baseline around some screens. Meanwhile, Hart stays on the block to screen for the screener, and that's all it takes for a lob and a stuff. Here's an out-of-bounds play with Bridges on the move. When the defense reacts, two Knicks cut into space. McHale fires, but Hart is there on the boards. And then instead of taking the three, it's Cat who storms into space to finish at the rim. So this offensive style organically leads to rebounding chances. All the bodies in the paint and cutters flying through are a form of rim pressure in today's game. The Knicks often send a wing to crash the offensive glass from the perimeter, and McHale cleans that one up. But the offense itself creates rebounds. Here's that little screen from one shooter to free the other one, and so the screener is in rebounding position along with the wing that he just screened for. This time it's a pick and roll. The big man gets to the block and then pins his man under the hoop. Meanwhile, Hart is setting a screen for a shooter that he can just slip right to the rim for a board and more inside offense. And this one's a pick and roll near midcourt with a third defender to help. So Hart just cuts, and that opens up a good look for Anunoby and puts Hart, the roll man, and the wing crasher into the rebounding scrum, so the Knicks get an extra crack at it. Another wrinkle in this offense is for Hart to screen for the dribbler and then roll into the paint like a big, and that naturally puts him in rebounding position. Whereas most teams in today's NBA have guards screen for each other to force switches or quickly pop out to the perimeter for a three. But the Knicks use the 6'4" Hart like a pseudo big man. He screens and rolls to the block. McHale maybe misses him on the pass there, but when Cat crashes in from the perimeter, Josh is in deep to clean up for Bridges. Sometimes Hart doesn't even set the screen. He fakes it here just to get behind Chris Paul, and that inside position was enough to keep it alive and secure this great Christmas win. And they use Hart like this because he's uniquely gifted as an offensive rebounder, with a great nose for the ball, and he uses his cutting acumen and quickness to time up these beautiful crashes.
You get regular rebounds? I get rebounds that break teams.
There's obviously an element of desire to rebounding. He tracks it off the rim well too, and man, it's hard to guard second chances sometimes. And on this possession, he's spacing out to the wing, crashes into the empty area behind LeBron, then chases it down off the rim just to snap it back to Jalen for some two-footed Nova offense. They're 11th in offensive rebounding percentage, which might sound disappointing if you know they were first last year, but they're also playing with a stretch big and relatively smaller lineups than they have in the past. Traditionally, teams space way out to open lanes for cutters or ball handlers to attack. But the Knicks often keep someone low, send a cutter through the lane, and crash the glass on the shot from the wing. And you may think, man, doesn't this mess up the spacing? But on this team, I think that's a small cost for a bigger benefit. Cat still attacks with his drives, Brunson still finds the paint and gets in deep, and meanwhile everyone else benefits from all the cutting and repositioning, even the outside shooters. This is an offense that creates small advantages, like Cat posting up a smaller player, and then moves and hustles to create bigger advantages. Again, multiple Knicks dive to the paint, Hart's cut occupies a defender, and leaves McHale free in the corner. And Cat's passing helps unlock a ton of this movement and activity from the Knicks. He can play the three-man game with the Nova guards, and he's good at hitting cutters. Or they can run that exact same three-man action, and he'll feather it to Brunson, where from there JB can do the rest. We've also seen Hart make a number of these connective tissue passes, and I think having good extra passers out there is critical for this type of offense, especially since Brunson can't always directly make these kinds of passes by himself. Hart also serves as a kind of one-man transition offense for the Knicks. According to Second Spectrum, New York would rank 11th in the league in transition possessions with Josh on the floor, but that plummets to 29th when he goes to the bench. Transition possessions are the most valuable possessions in basketball, and in addition to being a strong open court finisher, this is again driven by Hart's pace and grab and go skills from his rebounding that bring an extra dimension to the offense. Hart's actually averaging 10 boards and 6 assists per game, despite being the weakest traditional offensive player of the starters. Bridges is averaging 18 per game, despite rarely ever getting all the way to the rim, and Brunson's 26 and 7 assists feels superhuman at times when he takes over the game in the clutch.
How cute we were. Right after that, our little face on it. Look how cute he is. Look how happy he is. He was so excited.
Oh, man.
Cat and Jalen can still do damage in a conventional pick and roll game, but it might be their two-man pairing defensively that does the Knicks in. As great as Towns is offensively, he gives something back on the other end as a big man, especially in pick and roll coverages, so teams attack him and Brunson on that end of the court while the rest of the Knicks try to cover for them. A lack of depth is also a concern. They play all 5 starters over 35 minutes per game, and in this sense, I find New York to be a beautifully flawed team, maximizing value in one area while trying to avoid bleeding in another. They've survived in the regular season when Brunson goes to the bench, but a major concern in the playoffs is the lack of a second on-ball creator to complement Jalen. And yet, despite this is the best Knicks offense in history. Only the 2013 team is even close, and it's largely because Coach Tom Thibodeau did not simply run something conventional like spread pick and roll with Brunson and Cat. Instead, he nerded his way into a blend of cutting-edge progressive movement married to some old-school hustle and sweat. And he did all this by building an offense around Brunson, the 33rd pick in the draft, the perpetual respacing exemplified by Bridges, the 10th pick, and the singularly unique rebounding, passing, and pace provided by the 30th pick, Hart, which isn't too bad for a college team that had no real NBA prospects. We have extra video content this year for members at patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. You can get our stats board, community, everything, and our videos there. Or if you just want the video content, you can get that on YouTube as a member. We also have a special tier for those of you who just want to watch us live stream the Thinking Basketball podcast each week. We appreciate all the feedback on our great game series that we've been doing throughout the year. As of making this video, the Knicks are 3rd in the league in offense and 18th in defense, so let me know what you think of their playoff chances. If you're going to a concert or a live show, hopefully you use our discount code for that 10% off, which lets SeatGeek know that you came from us. Otherwise, thanks as always for watching this one all the way to the end, and I hope that you are having a great day.